Hello and welcome to Pro-Life Primetime News. Today is Friday, June 21st. I'm Leslie Palma. It's been 2 years since the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade and handed regulation of abortion back to the states. I'll take a look at what's happened since then, and my guest, Matt Sandy from Pro-Life Wisconsin, will talk about what's happening in his state. Priests for Life National Director Frank Pavone will talk about the importance of understanding what the Supreme Court actually did 2 years ago and how abortion advocates are trying to invent a right to abortion in numerous states. In Abortion in the News, I'll share some good news for employers in Mississippi and Louisiana and give a glimpse of what the U.S. Senate is up to regarding the unborn. What's happened to self-described pro-life Democrat Bob Casey, the U.S. Senator from Pennsylvania? I'll tell you that and more in Political News in a Nutshell. And finally, we'll go back to Wisconsin, where Frank Pavone learned some very good news while there for the state's march. 14 states have enacted laws protecting most babies from abortion. Another 3 states have heartbeat laws in effect, protecting babies from about 6 weeks gestation. But 21 states have passed laws expanding abortion access, and there are efforts in other states, including some where abortion is now virtually abolished, to invent a right to abortion in state constitutions. In every state that has passed or enacted laws to protect the unborn, abortion profiteers have filed lawsuits seeking to restore what they call abortion rights. In 3 states, Florida, Texas, and Idaho, laws have been challenged all the way to the state Supreme Court, and in all 3 cases, laws protecting the unborn have been upheld. That's the good news. But legal challenges are ongoing in several states, including Georgia, Utah, and Wyoming. In Wisconsin, the intent of a law passed in 1849 is still being contested. To help better understand what's happening there, I've invited Matt Sandy, Legislative Director for Pro-Life Wisconsin, to join me this evening. Welcome to the show, Matt.
Hi, Leslie. Thank you for having me.
So, Matt, take us back 2 years and explain what happened after the Dobbs decision.
Well, that was an amazing day, June 22nd, 2024. It was a Friday. We got word that the United States Supreme Court, in the Dobbs decision, overturned Roe v. Wade, remanded the abortion issue back to the states. And what happened in Wisconsin and what we were expecting is that we had a pre-Roe criminal abortion statute 94004, that was dormant during the Roe legal regime, and that it came back into effect. And that statute simply said that any person other than the mother who intentionally destroys the life of an unborn child is guilty of a Class H felony. It defines unborn child as a human being from the moment of conception until it is born alive. And so that statute came into effect. It was the Class H felony is a $10,000 fine, 6 years in prison. And we had the springtime of abortion-free Wisconsin for about over a year and like 4 months. We thought that an injunction would be placed on the statute, immediately, because a week after the Dobbs decision, our pro-abortion Democrat Attorney General Josh Kaul filed a lawsuit in Dane County Circuit Court. That's the county where the state capital is, Madison, to rule 94004 unenforceable. But that proceeded, for over a year. The court didn't address it, the Dane County Circuit Court. And finally, and unfortunately, they did late in 2022. Late in 2023. The Dane County Circuit Court Judge Diane Schlipper, said that the whole of 94004 is only applicable to feticide. Now, that's a grossly erroneous decision. Only a portion of 94004 could be said to apply to feticide. Section 2, which describes no abortive type procedure. It talks about the intentional killing of an unborn quick child. That there's a little history there. Back in 1994, there was a state Supreme Court case called State of Wisconsin versus Glendale Black. There was a loathsome defendant named Glendale Black who punched his wife in the abdomen 5 days before she was due, killing her baby. And at that time, we did not have a fetal homicide law, right? And so the prosecutors looked at that portion of 94004, which was dormant, remember, as applicable to abortion. And they took that section 2 and said, we're going to use that against you. And so the court interpreted that section as applicable to feticide, not the entire statute. Because when you look at the entire statute, after all, it's entitled abortion. It makes an exception for therapeutic abortion to save the mother's life, performed by a physician in a licensed maternity hospital unless an emergency exists. Obviously, that language, the plain wording and meaning of this statute, applies to consensual medical abortion. So I think Diane Schlipper took this little piece of feticide and ran with it and said the whole statute is not applicable to consensual medical abortion. Again, defying the plain wording and meaning of the statute. Extraordinary leap in logic for her to come to that decision. So Planned Parenthood, of course, after this ruling, began to perform abortions again in Madison, in Milwaukee, in Sheboygan. We have a pro-life district attorney in Sheboygan County. He is a defendant in the case, and he is appealing the decision all the way up to the state Supreme Court, bypassing the appellate court. And so, that's so late in 2023. Abortion came back to Wisconsin, and now but the big issue, the big thing that happened last year in spring of 2023 is that our state Supreme Court, which had a conservative majority, a 4-3 conservative majority, flipped. It is now radical left. There's a 4-3 liberal majority, quite radical. The person that flipped it, Justice Janet Protasewicz, was openly pro-abortion on her campaign, which was terribly prejudicial. It shouldn't have been allowed, but she touted her abortion rights, her support for abortion rights, I should say, and she's on the court. It's 4-3. So what we're concerned about at this time, Leslie, is that Planned Parenthood of Wisconsin and Attorney General Josh Kaul have petitioned the Wisconsin Supreme Court for constitutional clarification on the abortion issue. Essentially, they're trying to petition the court, the high court, to find a right to abortion in our state constitution. We are not lying down. We have intervened. Pro-Life Wisconsin, Wisconsin Right to Life, and Wisconsin Family Action have intervened to say, of course, there's clearly no right to abortion in our state constitution. It's not in the text of the Constitution. There's nothing in our history that would remotely suggest such a right. In fact, it's the opposite. We've criminalized abortion, Wisconsin, since statehood in 1848, and even before that, when Wisconsin was a territory. So we are intervening. We're being represented locally by the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty, WILL, and then also by Thomas More Society. And the concern here, of course, is that if the high court finds a right to abortion in our state constitution, all the pro-life laws and regulations that we've enacted over the last 40 years go down, right? Imagine all our informed consent laws, 24-hour waiting period, ultrasound, they're gone. And it will be a very tough road back. Again, well, I guess my point is that with Dobbs, we all knew and were prepared that this was going to be a state-by-state battle, and that there's going to be an ebb and flow to the protection of human life. That ought not to be the case. A person's right to life should not be dependent on an ever-changing court or an ever-changing legislature, right? The vagaries of that. It's a very precarious place to be for a preborn child. But yet that's where we're at. And so we just have to do everything in our power, all the pro-lifers in every state, to do what they can to protect life, preborn human life. So I thank you for covering Wisconsin. We're a battleground state. So keep praying for us that we can, bring home a pro-life governor in 2026 and, God willing, a pro-life president this fall. So thank you, Leslie.
Amen. All right. Thank you. Good night, Matt.
Bye-bye.
The Dobbs decision was, of course, very good news here at Priests for Life. Brian Kemper, our youth director and coordinator of street activism, is in D.C. this weekend and will take part in activities commemorating this momentous occasion. And I've asked Priests for Life National Director Frank Pavone to talk about the Dobbs decision and how pro-abortion advocates are attempting an end run around democracy in its wake. The Dobbs decision was, of course, very good news here at Priests for Life. Brian Kemper, our youth director and coordinator of street activism, is in D.C. this weekend and will take part in activities commemorating this momentous occasion. And I've asked Priests for Life National Director Frank Pavone to talk about the Dobbs decision and how pro-abortion advocates are attempting an end run around democracy in its wake.
Yes, friends, it has been 2 years since that historic decision of the U.S. Supreme Court in the Dobbs case, reversing Roe v. Wade and Planned Parenthood versus Casey. You know, when that first happened, and amidst all the jubilation, people would be asking me, what is the next step for the pro-life movement? And my answer today is the same as it was back then. The next step for the pro-life movement after Dobbs is to understand Dobbs. And I really don't think we've gotten even to that point yet. We established back at the time the website SupremeCourtVictory.com. We have the most extensive commentary and analysis there about this decision, how it came about, the different briefs that were submitted to the court. We talked to leading attorneys. We analyzed the impact. We went through the decision line by line. SupremeCourtVictory.com, all that information is still there. I want to emphasize that the pro-life movement's duty right now, and that of all of us, is to really understand the Dobbs decision. You know, the other side wants to now blame President Trump in this upcoming election for taking so much credit and being so happy that Roe v. Wade was reversed. And they want to make it sound like the Dobbs case made abortion illegal. It did no such thing. President Trump is proud of having reversed Roe v. Wade because Roe v. Wade was getting in the way of the will of the people, was getting in the way of you and me and people throughout the states who were passing laws to protect these babies in the womb and their mothers, only to have those laws get struck down by the courts. Why? Because of Roe v. Wade saying, oh, there's a constitutional right to abortion. The court said, no, there isn't a constitutional right to abortion. Abortion policy is to be set by the people and their elected representatives. The other side was so angry that they lost this so-called constitutional right to abortion that essentially could impose abortion, did impose abortion, even on people who object to it, that now they want to go down the same route. You see, they don't want to engage the legislative process and have an honest public debate on abortion. What the pro-abortion people are doing now is what they lost in the federal constitution, they want to impose in the state constitutions. That's why there are these ballot measures taking place. They are trying to advance in Florida, in Maryland, in New York, in Arkansas, Arizona, Colorado, Missouri, Montana, Nevada, Nebraska, and South Dakota. These states are having these ballot initiatives, and they might, some of them might not end up getting on the ballot. But the point is, you see the strategy of the other side. They don't respect what the court said in Dobbs. They don't. Because they don't want to have the public debate, they don't want to have the legislative process. They just want to reimpose a constitutional right to abortion that's never, by the way, never been acknowledged by any state constitution in our nation's entire history. From coast to coast, never was there a time when any state asserted a right to abortion. Now they want to go putting it in all these constitutions. Where are you getting this from? Where are you getting this from exactly? So as this anniversary is celebrated, let's go back to the Dobbs decision itself. Let's make sure we understand what it provides for, what it does, what it doesn't do. Let's make sure it is not abused in this current election by the pro-abortion propaganda. And let's make sure that we have a genuine, honest debate in this country over abortion and not just declare constitutional rights that have never been recognized before. God bless you for your efforts. And again, go to SupremeCourtVictory.com for more details.
It's been just over a week since the U.S. Supreme Court disappointed pro-lifers by dismissing a lawsuit that could have impacted the way the deadly abortion drug mifepristone is prescribed and how long into pregnancy it can be used. But the fight might not be over. In a unanimous decision, the court found that the pro-life doctors did not have standing to bring the suit. But in his opinion, Justice Brett Kavanaugh left open the possibility that other plaintiffs might meet the criteria to file suit. In January, federal judge Matthew Kacsmaryk in Amarillo, where the Supreme Court case originated, allowed the attorneys general of Missouri, Kansas, and Idaho to intervene in the suit. The states now will claim that they, unlike the doctors, have sufficient standing to sue. More than 60% of abortions in the US now are chemical abortions using the drugs mifepristone and misoprostol. A Missouri judge has dismissed a lawsuit brought by pro-abortion Christian, Jewish, and Unitarian clergy that sought to block the state's law protecting most babies from abortion. The judge ruled that lawmakers who passed the law were not trying to impose their religious beliefs on everyone in the state. A Biden administration change to the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act that went into effect Tuesday cannot be enforced in Mississippi and Louisiana for the time being, a federal judge has ruled. The U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops and the Attorneys General of the two states filed a legal challenge to the April rule change by the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission that said women seeking abortions must be given time off and other workplace accommodations. On Monday, Judge David Joseph said the bishops group and employers in Mississippi and Louisiana do not have to comply with the new rule while the case makes its way through the courts. Joseph's ruling came just days after a federal judge in Arkansas dismissed a similar lawsuit filed by attorneys general in 17 states. That judge said the states lack standing to bring the challenge. The Pregnant Workers Fairness Act was passed with bipartisan support in 2022 as it was intended to help women continue to work throughout their pregnancies. When the rule change was announced, Priests for Life National Director Frank Pavone said our ministry would not comply. The rule reflects a diabolical disregard for human life, as well as the tendency of Democrat leaders to use every vehicle of government to impose their immorality on American citizens, Pavone said. Republicans in the U.S. Senate on Tuesday asked for unanimous consent to pass several pro-life bills, including the Conscience Protection Act and the Born Alive Survivors Protection Act. Unanimous consent would allow the bills to come up for a vote without requiring the 60-vote majority needed to begin consideration of most Senate bills. But Senate Democrats blocked the bills, with Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer instead moving to advance the Reproductive Freedom for Women Act, which would establish a national right to abortion before the third trimester. Also on Thursday, Minnesota Senator Tina Smith, a pro-abortion Democrat, introduced legislation seeking to repeal sections of the 150-year-old Comstock law that prevents abortion-related materials from being sent through the mail. Legislators in some pro-life states are hoping to use the law to prevent abortion pills from being mailed to mothers in their states. Women are on their own in Michigan after the state decided to stop collecting detailed data about abortions. Following the passage of a pro-abortion amendment in the state in 2022, Democrat lawmakers have been busy repealing laws aimed at protecting mothers and babies. This year, for the first time in 45 years, the state will not collect information on things like the gestational age of the baby, the reason for the abortion, and any complications that may have occurred. Some people see that the state has a responsibility to its citizens to protect the health and safety of women, especially undergoing medical and surgical procedures, pro-life OBGYN Dr. Catherine Stark told the news outlet Bridge, Michigan. Democrats who run the state apparently don't agree with the doctor. Arizona's pre-Roe law protecting most babies from abortion, a law that was upheld by the state Supreme Court in April and then repealed by the legislature in May, is gone for good. There had been a possibility that it could briefly be enforced after the legislature gavelled out of its session for the year. The law, originally passed in 1864, was slated to be enacted on September 27th. The law repealing it does not go into effect until 90 days after the legislature closes its session. Had the session lasted into the summer, there was a chance that the unborn could have enjoyed protection for at least a few weeks. But now the repeal will go into effect September 14th. The state will continue to allow abortion until the 15th week, but pro-aborts are hoping to get an amendment to the state constitution on the November ballot to allow legal abortion through the 24th week. Organizers say they have more than enough signatures to get the referendum in front of voters, and they have until July 3rd to turn in signatures. In other ballot news, New York pro-abortion Attorney General Letitia James is celebrating a decision by state appellate judges that will allow a proposed constitutional amendment to go before the voters in November. In May, a state judge ruled that state lawmakers made a procedural error when they approved language for the amendment. James appealed, and the 4th Judicial Department of New York State on Tuesday reversed the lower court's decision, clearing the way for the radically pro-abortion Equal Rights Amendment to appear on state ballots. James called the decision a huge victory. Meanwhile, in South Dakota, a pro-life group called Life Defense Fund filed a lawsuit challenging the legitimacy of a ballot amendment seeking to bring legal abortion back to the state where most unborn babies are now protected. The Life Defense Fund contends that the group that organized the petition drive, Dakotans for Health, didn't file a required affidavit proving that those collecting signatures live in the state, as required by a 2018 law that may or may not still be in effect. Stay tuned. And that's Abortion in the News. President Donald Trump held a campaign rally Tuesday in Racine, Wisconsin, his third visit to the state this year. The rally came less than a month before the start of the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, where he will be formally nominated for president. The liberal media has been criticizing Trump for a comment he made behind closed doors, calling Milwaukee a horrible city, but he opened his rally saying it's great to be back in this beautiful state with thousands and thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots. Trump won Wisconsin in 2016, but Joe Biden had a narrow victory there in 2020. Once upon a time, U.S. Senator Bob Casey Jr. of Pennsylvania described himself as a pro-life Democrat, but as he seeks re-election in November, his new ad attacks his Republican challenger, David McCormick, for his opposition to abortion, and Casey lies in the ad. The ad claims that McCormick opposes abortion even in cases of rape and incest, but McCormick, who served as Undersecretary of the Treasury during the administration of George W. Bush, said he supports 3 exceptions: when the pregnancy was caused by rape or incest and when the mother's life is in jeopardy. Attacking a challenger over abortion is a new tactic for Casey. According to the Associated Press, Casey has said the U.S. Supreme Court decision overturning Roe v. Wade 2 years ago, quote, changed everything for him. Casey's father was a 2-term governor of Pennsylvania who signed a pro-life law that led to the landmark 1992 Supreme Court case Planned Parenthood versus Casey, which was overturned along with Roe in 2022. In a closed-door meeting with Republicans in Congress last week, former President Donald Trump urged those running for re-election not to shy away from talking about abortion on the campaign trail. But he said the party must present a unified message and stress that regulation of abortion now falls under the jurisdiction of the individual states and their voters. Florida Representative Matt Gaetz told the Washington Times after the meetings that Trump wants the candidates to localize the issue rather than talking about it in national terms. The former president also stressed that Democrats are the abortion extremists, not Republicans. The leaders of the nation's top 3 pro-abortion organizations campaigned with House Representative Elisa Slotkin in Michigan this week as the Democrat runs for a seat in the U.S. Senate. The presidents of Emily's List, Planned Parenthood, and Reproductive Freedom for All attended a rally in Grand Rapids to support the Democratic frontrunner in the race. Michigan is rabidly pro-abortion and one of a handful of states that could determine control of the Senate. In what the New York Times has described as possibly the ugliest primary of the 2024 election season thus far, Suhas Subramaniam emerged the winner in the race for a U.S. House seat representing Northern Virginia. A dozen Democrats vied for the seat being vacated by retiring Representative Jennifer Wexton. When she was elected in 2018, she was the first Democrat to hold the seat in 40 years, and this year's race seemed a shoo-in for the eventual primary winner until a charge of sexual harassment was leveled at frontrunner Dan Helmer, and Subramaniam, a state senator, was accused of illegally putting one of his Senate staffers on his campaign payroll. He will now face Republican Mike Clancy, an attorney, in November. And that's political news in a nutshell. Our final story tonight takes us back to Wisconsin, where the state's very first safe haven baby box is now open. The Reedsburg Ambulance Facility recently unveiled a new box where newborns can be safely and anonymously left by mothers who, for whatever reason, have decided they cannot parent their children. Priests for Life National Director Frank Pavone was in Madison, Wisconsin last weekend for the State March for Life, and he spoke to pro-life activist Pam Stenzel about this life-saving news.
Hey friends, I'm here in Wisconsin. We're in Madison with Pam Stenzel. She's got some breaking news for us that we're celebrating here today at the Wisconsin March for Life. Pam?
Yesterday, we opened the very first Safe Haven baby box in Wisconsin.
Awesome.
In Reedsburg. That's 238 boxes in the nation, 17 states. And yesterday, the very first baby box in Wisconsin.
And for those that don't know about Safe Haven, so this means that a mother who doesn't want to, feels she can't raise her baby, gives birth to the baby, and then what?
A mother in crisis in the state of Wisconsin can surrender an unharmed newborn to any fire station, hospital, or EMS station. No questions asked, but she has to walk in and hand that baby face to face. What the Safe Haven baby box does is allow women a completely anonymous option to walk up to this device that is electronically monitored, alarmed. Baby's only in there for, it must be under 5 minutes. She opens that box, places baby in the bassinet, shuts it, the door locks, and the paramedics will be there in under 5 minutes to keep that baby safe. So we want babies in boxes or handed to firefighters, not in dumpsters.
Thanks for helping to make that happen here in
Thanks,
Wisconsin.
Good to see
Friends, look up the Safe Haven Alliance and the laws in
Safe
every
Haven
one.
baby boxes.
Yes, every one of the 50 states has safe haven laws. We can save these babies. God bless you, and God bless you, Pam.
Thanks, Harley.
All 50 states have safe haven laws allowing newborns to be safely surrendered at fire and police stations, hospitals, and other facilities. To learn more about the laws, go to safehavenalliance.org. And to learn how to bring a safe haven baby box to your town, go to shbb.org. Thank you so much for joining me on Pro-Life Primetime News, produced at Priest for Life headquarters in Titusville, Florida. If you like this show, please consider making a donation to prolifegift.org. These donations help fund all of our work here at Priests for Life, which enables us to continue educating, equipping, and activating God's people to end abortion. For all your pro-life news updates during the week, please follow us on X at Pro-Life News Show, and please make sure to tune into our other shows like Just Ask Janet and Praying for America. Go to endabortion.tv for the schedule. I'm Leslie Palma. Remember, life is the only choice.